Hello, everybody. I'm your host, Wheel Trouble. Wow, it has been a while, hasn't it? It's been so long that I don't have my old computer. I don't have my old microphone. I had to download Audacity just to do this. To that end, I'm recording on a gaming headset. Please forgive the audio quality. There's a Patreon down below if any of you guys want to support me so that I can get back to that old stuff, but I'm not going to lie about this or mince words. This stuff ain't cheap. And any support you guys can give would be great. I've noticed there's been over 1,000 of you that have watched a lot of my review videos, and considering I paid retail for all that stuff, I would really like some help on that. You don't have to, I understand, but it is appreciated. Having said that, actually, this video, I didn't pay retail. I don't feel bad about putting this out there, however, because even though I didn't pay retail, I'm still not going to give them a chance to rebut anything I put in this video. I'm going to release it to the wild. I'll tell them about it. I'll tell them it exists, but they're going to have to live with whatever I say. Moving right along, it was time for me to finally retire my beloved Z1R Strike Ops SV. You can see that review video if you want. The link's down below. And I was very, very impressed with the Z1R range, in addition to how my Strike Ops SV actually held up. The range review, I kind of danced around who had let me use that helmet for the review. They didn't actually get a choice in the matter. They had to let me use it because it was my child. That child wears an extra small, and so to that end, when you guys had some questions down in the comment section, I wasn't able to actually answer those very well. That's not why I went and bought the range, but it is the reason I'm doing an update review, actually. I was very impressed with the range and had to have one myself. I really thought it was cool, and now that I'm on an adventure bike, I'm sort of a prima donna, and I wanted to look the part. Well, Z1R decided to update the range with MIPS. I'm sure you guys that are just getting into shopping are seeing this MIPS thing coming up a lot now, and that's because it's a relatively new technology. What is MIPS? Well, it's basically a sliding layer inside the helmet that absorbs rotational impact. To kind of put this in layman's terms, when you crash, they do all the tests for helmets, ECE, DOT, and all that. They basically just drop them, or drop things on them. Well, that's not how a crash works. Yes, gravity does its part, but then you also have the forward momentum, and that imparts rotational energy. If you throw a basketball or a tennis ball at the ground with some spin on it, you know what I'm talking about. It's the same kind of thing with your head inside of a helmet when you crash. This is going to get kind of personal. You can kind of skip forward in the video if you want, but in my family, we believe in MIPS, and I don't think I'll ever own a helmet now that doesn't have it, and here's why. Growing up, my grandfather had introduced me to cross-country bicycle riding. He was very avid into road riding. One day, he was out road riding with my dad and my brother in some sort of road bike rally, and I'll be honest, I had dropped out of the road bike scene for BMX long before that point. My grandfather came back with a busted helmet and was a little bit concussed. He didn't go unconscious or anything, but he had hit the ground kind of hard. I mean, it shattered his helmet. Well, fast forward, he had flown home and wound up in the hospital because the rotational energy from that crash where my brother had clipped his front tire, it caused some severe injury. It was severe enough that after the very expensive hospital visit, my grandfather more or less, I'm not going to say gave up road riding, but really throttled it back to the point where something he had loved and had devoted his entire life to, basically, I'm going to call it a retirement. It really was. It was more or less a retirement. He dabbled in it here and there, but that was pretty much the end of it for him. And it's weird to be able to trace it to that, but it's one of those things where MIPS would have solved it. I mean, he didn't go unconscious or anything. MIPS would have solved the rotational energy that caused the actual problem in the first place. So in my family, we swear by MIPS now, and it's still new technology, but the good thing is the data is there. It's been out long enough, and it's been proven enough that MIPS does the job. And very few helmets actually have it yet. So the cool thing with this range is you're not only getting the DOT, which, okay, whatever. You're getting the ECE, that's the real safety standard. You're also getting MIPS on top of that, making this just that much more protective. And for only $20-$30, dude, do it. Don't think about it. Just get the MIPS. And I'm sorry, Z1R, if you've got some regular range helmets that need to go, I'm going to support your MIPS line now. Your range helmets are good, but MIPS is better. So not only that, actually, they did some updates that go for the range and the range MIPS that I want to talk about in this video before I go and answer your questions. The first update is the street mode. The street mode before was no frills. You just took out some screws, and that was it. They gave you some screw plugs this time that actually look pretty sharp. And then For the top, you have a screw-on fin, which doesn't do much. It's purely decorative, but it looks cool. So cool there, and I'll be honest, most places would have already charged $15 for that. So when you factor in that this helmet was only like $30 more, really, for the MIPS, $20-$30, I guess, that alone is just a nice little thing for them to throw in. Those are the two major updates to this helmet. Now on to my personal opinions, now that I've actually been able to wear it, the things that matter, some of the questions you guys have had. The first question is fit. How does it fit compared to like my Strike Ops? It fits great. I don't know how else to put that. It actually fits much better than my Strike Ops did. My Strike Ops was a little bit tight in a good way. It did match the shape of my head, but the cheek pads were kind of short, and so I could feel them pushing in, which is what helped keep the helmet secure on my head. And the good thing is, even after the 5-year mark, it never actually lost its security. It stayed sharp to where even in 80-mile-an-hour straight lines, I could look straight to the side and that helmet wouldn't budge. It was great. This helmet is more secure, but in a more comfortable way, because the cheek pads go out farther. Because the front of the helmet goes out farther, they were able to extend the cheek pads. And so a lot of that pressure, instead of being absorbed further back on my cheekbones, it's all the way through the entire face. And it is a nice experience. It honestly is very wonderful, and I like that creature comfort. The noise is a little bit louder than my Strike Ops SV, and there's a real easy explanation for this. The Strike Ops SV has a little chin protector thing, a little chin flap that goes underneath from side to side on the chin bar, basically, and that helps keep wind out. That also keeps noise out. The Range does not have that, so you get that airflow coming up and in. It's not bad. I ride with earplugs anyway, but I'm still able to hear all of the audio coming out of my headset just fine. It's not... When I say it's louder, I'm talking marginally. You won't really notice it. And so I'm still very happy. I still would say that this is a fairly quiet helmet. Then there's... Let's see, what was it? The other concern would be the visor. I know that there were some people I was speaking with who were concerned that with an adventure helmet that you would have the wind trying to drag your head all over. And while, yes, that can happen, and you'll actually see that in this video, it's not bad. Honestly, it's really not. I had to look straight up for it to really become annoying. So I'm pleasantly surprised with that. I'll probably only revert to street mode when I'm going in high wind situations. But as far as going down the highway, between the fact that I'm short and can actually sit behind the visor of my Versus just fine, or the windscreen, I'm doing okay with this, and I'm going to leave it as is. There's the dirt mode still, and they still have the visor delete kits to make everything look nice and work well with goggles. I won't lie, I'm probably not going to use this, but if you're using one helmet to do it all, that's great. I have a dedicated dirt bike helmet as well as a dedicated BMX helmet. I want to protect my street helmet. That's up to you guys when you go out and buy this helmet, whether or not you're doing one helmet to save them all, or if you're wanting a range of helmets. I tend to crash a lot on BMX and my dirt bike. When it comes to my street protection, I just don't want to chance it. I don't feel bad having taken an impact in the woods and using the helmet through 2 or 3 impacts on a dirt helmet. But when it comes to my street ride, one and done, period. And that's just a good safety concern there. Really, that's about it. I love the airflow in this helmet. It's comfortable. It's not as loud as you would expect. It fits very nice, and it's going to be one of the most comfortable helmets I own, and I'm looking forward to 5 years with it. The Z1R did a good job. They beefed up anything that actually needed beefed up. They knocked it out of the park. It's a good entry-level helmet, and don't take entry-level to mean, like, cheap. It's one of those where, once again, Z1R could have charged a lot more than they are. Even the visor comes down to where I actually like it. That was the one complaint, if you guys remember, from my Strike Ops. I didn't like how far down the visor didn't come. And this one, it's great. I love it. So I was happy enough with the helmet when I reviewed it for my child that I went out and bought one myself. And there's absolutely no buyer remorse. So I would strongly encourage anyone, if you're looking for the helmet, the Z1R Range MIPS, you can't go wrong. Not only do I recommend it, it's coming highly recommended from a certain Canadian channel as well. Anyway, see you guys later. Wheel Trouble out. Don't forget, there is a Patreon down below. While I didn't pay retail for this, I pay retail for a lot of the stuff that gets reviewed, and I've noticed a lot of you like watching these reviews. So help me keep doing it. Please support me on Patreon. Thanks. Wheel Trouble out.